The most thrilling, spine-tingling series ever.
From the pages of R.L. Stine's best-selling books,
And the screams go on forever and ever.
We now return to Goosebumps.
Greetings, Goosebumps fans, young and old, big and small, living dead and undead. Welcome back to the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. As always, I am your host, Isaiah Vargas. I'm joined by my good buddies Bjorn Palnick and Nick Shaw. We are the Goosebumps Crew, and we are back to, as always, talk some Goosebumps. If this is your first time joining us here on the Goosebumps Crew, I want to sincerely welcome you all. If you are, or have ever been, a fan of the popular Goosebumps series of books, or the monster franchise those books spawned, I have a feeling this podcast is going to be right up your alley, because as I always say, me, Bjorn, and Nick are some of the biggest Goosebumps nerds on the entire planet. We could talk about Goosebumps for hours on end, and that's exactly what we do here on this podcast. Every week, got a brand new episode talking about everything Goosebumps, whether it be the books, TV shows, movies, video games, merchandise, whatever it is. It has Goosebumps in the name. We're going to talk and talk and talk about it so much. We're going to cover every single base of this franchise by the time that we're even thinking of ending this podcast, which won't be for another 25 years or so. So, with all that said, if you end up liking today's episode, make sure you have a like and comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell notification to get updates when new episodes go up every Wednesday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. But if you're just dying to get those episodes early, trust me, I know how that is. But you can catch the audio-only versions a day early on Tuesdays at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern over on our audio platforms. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you can follow the Goosebumps Crew on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook, among others. You can get our full list down below in the description. You can also follow Bjorn and Nick at Goosebumps Aussie Fan and Sean, respectively, on their social medias and their YouTubes. All those links are in the description below, so check them out. Join the Goosebumps Crew today, become a crew member, and we appreciate your advance for your support. So today we are back with yet another Goosebumps 90s show retrospective. That's right, it's been a little bit, but we are diving back into another episode of the 90s Goosebumps television series, which we love oh so dearly. And today's episode we're talking about is Deep Trouble. This is the 7th and 8th episode of the 4th season, which is actually also the series finale, the very final episode to ever air. It aired on November 16th, 1998. It was directed by William Fruitt and written by Jessica Scott and Mike Wolliger. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And it is based on, by name, on the 19th book in the original series. The plot itself is adapted from the 58th sequel in the original series, Deep Trouble 2. So it's sort of like a hodgepodge adaptation of the Deep Trouble duology. Now, as always, when we do these episode retrospectives, we can't do it alone. We gotta bring on somebody who's been on the episode. So we're very happy to introduce Mr. Todd Fennell, a Canadian actor who's done tons of roles, including roles such as the Assassin's Creed video game series. As we were talking beforehand, he was also in Brain Scan, which Bjorn is very, very happy about. And of course, he was Billy Deep in this episode of Goosebumps. Todd, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. This is awesome. I'm so excited about this. And like also as a fan of the books myself, like when I was a kid, I used to order them as soon as they'd come in. So I'm super pumped about this. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We're very happy to have you on because this is a very interesting episode. As I said, it was the very last episode to ever premiere for the Goosebumps series. So it's a bit of a special one on top of also being a two-parter episode. So it's an extended length. And you got to star in this episode alongside Laura Vandervort, another very popular actress who played your sister Sheena in the episode. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty of the episode, Todd, you've been an actor for most of your career, and you've done tons of roles in TV and movies and video games. But how did your acting career start? Where did you start off with?
Okay. So both my parents were professional dancers and choreographers, and my mom had a dance school, and she'd done a couple of like choreographies for local TV shows and stuff like that. And when I was a kid, I would watch Back to the Future and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original. And I would run around the basement, but like a lot of kids would imitate like the lines, but I knew every single line in every single movie. So I would just like do the whole thing. And Ghostbusters also. Like I would just, and then my mom was like, do you want to take acting lessons? Because you seem to really like this. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I started with Montreal Children's Theatre, and then I did that for a couple of years. And then there was just some like cattle call auditions where they bring in hundreds of kids. And I think one of the first ones I booked was this cheese string commercial with a chimpanzee. And so like I'm eating a cheese string thing and he's eating the banana. And so I got that. And then I got a couple of little movies. And like local movies, and then I guess like big break was Lassie. I did 3 or 4 seasons on Lassie on YTV, and then it was on Animal Planet. So and then from there I started doing like bigger, like then we did the whole YTV thing where we did like YTV is in Canada, was like the youth television. So we did like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps and Big Wolf on Campus. Do you know that show? Do you remember that show?
That one I don't know.
Okay, it was like a werewolf.
This will be more of a you. Do you know
I don't offhand, surprisingly.
It was a funny show. It was like half comedy, but he was a werewolf, and anyway. So then I just kept doing it. And after high school, I was gonna go to CJEP, and I was gonna but then I got another part on a series, and I said, well, I'll do this series, and I'll go back to school after. And then the series went for a second season, and then I started doing commercials and video games, and I was like, well, this is what I want to do, so let's just do this. And I just kept doing it. And I've had other jobs and other things along the way, but I just I love it. I love the fact that you're always working with different people, and you're always working on a different story and a different character. So you kind of lack a little bit. It's sad when a project ends because you lack like the continuity of having a regular job where like you're staying with the same people, but at the same time it's super exciting because it's always new, like it's always novelty. So I love it.
That's awesome. Wow. And
so cool.
I mean, as we found out, with the sort of talent pool in terms of, child actors in Canada, it was very, very easy to get on. It definitely shows for YTV because it was like it was the big hub for Canadian created shows. And definitely, I mean, everybody we talked to is like, oh man, it was like a big pool. Everybody knew somebody. That
was Alan. Alan Dissett.
One door went in, another one would open. So most definitely.
They said they hired every kid from Canada, didn't they? Alan Dissett. He's like, I feel like every kid that lived in Canada was in Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? So
and we all knew each other. Like I did an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark with Alicia Cuthbert, and so she was like the it girl at the time. Like she was starting to. I think she got 24. Or she was about to do 24. And so my girlfriend was super jealous because she's like, oh, you're working with her. And we actually went to the same high school. She was 2 years older. And so she was so sweet. She came over and she was like, I was with my girlfriend and she's like, hey, your boyfriend's so nice. He was talking about you so much that you're like awesome and this and that. And she was like, oh, that's so nice. Just like put her at ease. And like she didn't have to do that. And then like she was just like super, super sweet. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
We all, and Jay Baruchel too is from Montreal, and he worked with Alicia. And I'm still friends with actually Laura Vandervort from Goosebumps. Like we still I help her with auditions. She helps me with auditions. Like we're still in contact after 25 years. So yeah.
That's awesome.
That's cool. I tried to get her on this podcast as well for this episode specifically, but I couldn't get a response because I was going to try to do like a reunion episode.
Oh shoot! Like the two of us.
I kept in touch, yeah, but I wasn't able to get in touch with her. So maybe in the future.
Yeah, I'll tell her. And when this comes out, I'll share this with her so that she sees it too. And yeah, awesome, cool.
It could still be done. It could still be done. The reunion. Yeah.
But so before you got involved with the Goosebumps show, you said you were a fan growing up. So what was it like growing up with the Goosebumps series?
It was so cool because like my son now, you just saw him come down for a sec. He's a big reader now, and it was a couple of books that got him into reading early, and it was kind of the same for me. Like it's like the Goosebumps book, they got me into reading because I was so obsessed with the stories that every time the Scholastics little flyer would come in to class, it would like I wouldn't even look. I would just be like Goosebumps, 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 just like hit them all and order those, and like my parents loved it because I was reading so much. I just get lost in the books, and that carries forward to your whole life. You know, there's so many people that don't read, or like it's too bad like the kids don't read as much as I think like everyone should be a reader. Everyone should be an avid reader. It helps you in your career. It helps you creatively. It helps you with all kinds of things, especially young, because you can formulate these ideas and it works your imagination. So I loved it, and I read all of them, and we had healthy competition. Like me and my best friend, we try to have like the most amount of Goosebump books. Like so we like I'd be like, yeah, but I just got these ones, and you don't have those yet, and like so we try to one up each other with like how many books we had, but we read them all like multiple times. And yeah, my favorite one was we were talking before, but the sponge that it came from under the sink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and just like the originality with the creativity with that, like
yeah.
How do you made a full book about like a little thing that turns into something, you know, horrible, and just like she just keeps trying to shut it away, and like it'll go away eventually, and it just keeps coming back. I loved it. I love that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one is. I mean, that one.
Did you have any of like the merchandise growing up? Like, did you get like because you guys were trying to one up each other with the books? You could have shown up to school one day with like your Goosebumps hat and shirt and been like, "Look at me!" Like,
I didn't have any
a backpack too.
No, I didn't have any swag, but I had all the books. Like my bookshelf was just like full. Had all of them.
That's so cool. No, I mean, we were talking about beforehand how I'd love to live back in the 90s, but I was a 2000s kid. Another reason I would have loved to be in the 90s because I could have gotten all these books when they came out.
Yeah. Technically, Nick was the only one that grew up with the whole fad. So
you say you would have kept the books, but see, when a lot of kids, myself included, sadly, when Goosebumps kind of like fell off the map in the late 90s, early 2000s, due to a lot of legal stuff, and everybody knows from watching our podcast how that transpired. So if you don't know, you can go back and watch those episodes, FYI. But back in the 90s, it just disappeared like overnight. It was really strange. I mean, you could see Goosebumps stuff on clearance, but yes, Harry Potter, like, Avada Kedavra that shit and just like
a certain boy wizard, from what I was told, was one of the
between the lawsuit and between that, it was a death sentence for Goosebumps at the time. So a lot of people were selling their books at like yard sales and stuff, and like just the love kind of fell out for a lot of people because there was nothing new.
Yeah, so I had a guy. I was at it was an anime convention, but I was going as a video game actor because I had done some. Kenna Bridge of Spirits is like, it's kind of anime. It's like Pixar animation almost. So I was going as a video game actor, but most of the people that came, there was 2 or 3 people that came to my my booth with Goosebumps books, and they were like original, unopened. Can you open it carefully and just sign here? I was like, it's not even what this is like at all, but yeah, for sure, that's so cool, you know. And it just brought me back. It's like really awesome.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, it recently happened to Hayden Christensen. Actually, someone brought up it was an image of him from Night of the Living Dummy, and I don't know who it was. It was someone that watches us that went up to him.
I think it was CS Memorabilia, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, CS Memorabilia, and apparently he just had a big smile on his face, like thinking, "Whoa, like this is crazy! Like someone wants me to sign a Goosebumps thing."
Oh, but God, I can imagine a game like finally somebody comes up with something that's not Star Wars.
Star Wars to sign, like Yeah, no, that's true. And then Ryan Gosling, there was an image of him recently, like doing like a signing, and someone had a massive Say Cheese and Die poster for him to sign. And
Yeah, he
and
was
then
at
he,
this.
not long after that, he did that interview for The Fall Guy where he talked about it. So it obviously it reminded him. So yeah, they were asking him and Emily Blunt what cool props they got to keep from like shows and movies, and he said, "Oh, I got to keep the camera from Say Cheese and Die." Like, so she was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, but it's cool when they can be reminded of something they did in the past and then they actually bring it up in an interview or something. So that was really,
that's a good segue question. Did you get to keep anything after you got done filming? Since it was the last episode?
I didn't. There was a lot of cool stuff too. There was a puffer fish that shoots the needles at us.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to keep any of them. I think the guy who was the squid man that was turning into the squid, and that helped us, I think he got to keep the prosthetics because it was just fitted for his head, right? So he got to keep that. But no, I didn't keep anything. It's too bad. I should have kept something.
That stinks.
Anything, if you snipped off set with something or if they gave you something. Something I like to ask, like everybody who comes on who did the 90s show. Yeah. Some have gotten stuff. Some have taken stuff, and others,
some have stolen stuff.
Well, for instance, like Eric Erickson, like wasn't really given anything, but yeah, he took his socks.
Okay, I had one of those needles for a bit, but I gave it back at the end because I was like, but because that scene where they pop those needles through the door. Like, they really did. Yeah. Like, they had an air pressure gun, and they're like, but guys, like, stay back. Like, don't get close to the wall. It was legit. It wasn't CGI or anything. So when they came through, we were really actually scared because it was a huge air gun, and they were smashing those needles through the door. So we were like, like, that's real. Our reactions are legit.
Wow.
Well, that's so crazy. Even if you got to keep, like,
Ron and his team were good at their job. Air pressure just a little bit higher, go right through there, and next thing you know, it really is the last episode.
So, like, it was like going to be in front of us anyway, but it still didn't give a lot of leeway.
What about like the little remote control fin? They didn't let you keep that, like.
Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, in the beginning. Yeah. And the ant was half real and half like there was a real ant there. Like, I don't know, do you remember that huge ant?
There's a big animatronic.
Yeah, so at one point it's like fake, but there was actually a real huge ant that we were interacting with and like throwing things at, and it was done in the studio in Toronto. So awesome. The whole cavern was all built into the set, so at lunch we would go around and just walk through the cavern. It was an elaborate set, like a really big thing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So that wasn't like a location or anything they went to. They actually had to build because we've noticed, like, talking with a lot of people who did the 90s show, that they had to use similar like locations around Canada for the most part to save money rather than building sets. Yeah. So,
but this one, I don't know if it was used. I think it might have been used for another show also at the Times. It was a Toronto, I want to say like Stargate or something, but one of those shows. It was used for something else also, so they were dual purposing this cavern, and then they would dress it differently for Goosebumps because we had all the slime and the kind of green, visuals on it. But we really did climb up, like it was all built and it was all in a studio. So yeah, it's really cool.
Speaking on the sets, because you did have the cave, for the ending. But there was also a lot of it takes place on this sort of like deserted island. Was that an actual location? Was that like an island, or was it just kind of like a beach area?
It was in the exotic reaches of Lake Ontario. So they had to like make Lake Ontario look like the ocean, and it is pretty big. So if you get the right angles, but there's a huge nuclear power plant. Like that you can visibly see, and every shot we had to angle it this way so that we didn't see the nuclear power plant. And I remember like Laura and I being like, "Is the water like cool here? Like we could swim because no one's swimming," and we had to walk in it. And we're like, "We see the nuclear power plant, so is it cool?" And they were like, "It's fine. The water's fine," and it was fine. It was just we were like 11 and terrified. So
it's just it's not,
3-eyed fish.
If it's not magic, genetically altered plankton, it's probably just the nuclear waste that's coming off from that power plant.
No special effects needed. They just took the real fish.
That's crazy. Like, wow.
That's so funny. Now, how did you, you were doing acting before Goosebumps, but how did you get involved with Goosebumps in particular? Or was it just sort of like a simple audition process, or?
Yeah, we auditioned. So I, like, as a Montreal actor, they shot out of Toronto, but they were still open to auditioning Montreal and Toronto. And I was kind of in the YTV circuit because of Lassie, and I think I had done one Are You Afraid of the Dark by then. And then I did the Goosebumps, then I did another Are You Afraid of the Dark. So it was kind of like they used a lot of the same actors. Like if you do a Goosebumps, for sure you'd do an Are You Afraid of the Dark, and like so I was in that kind of clique, which was nice. I didn't know Ryan Gosling or anything, but he was like, when he blew up, it was like, oh, cool, we could do that too. It's awesome. So, yeah,
those shows really walk hand in hand though in the 90s. Goosebumps, yeah, Afraid of the, they were like a
well, I mean, even down to directors, because even Ron Oliver, when we had him on, said the same thing. I mean, he would go direct or write some Are You Afraid of the Dark, and then do some Goosebumps, and oh, I worked with you on Goosebumps. Come over here, do Are You Afraid of the Dark? So it was really a back and forth. And he talks about how like the kid pool wasn't as vast as it is today. Like back then, it was a very small pool of Canadian kids to pick from. So they really did have to kind of move them in between shows. But I mean, that actually makes it kind of cool when you're watching Goosebumps, but then you can go to an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode and see, one of your favorite actors from the Goosebumps episode doing Are You Afraid of the Dark now. So.
Yeah, and the directors,
I mean, you obviously know they can do a good job.
Yeah, and a lot of those directors would come and do Lassie also, and they would do My Hometown, which was another show with Jay Baruchel. It was his kids show, and I did an episode of My Hometown, and he did an so yeah, we all kind of knew everybody. It was cool, nice time.
I remember just being a kid and because obviously when I was watching Goosebumps, Nick got to watch the premieres of all these, but when I was a kid, it was 2000, 2001. So Fox Kids was still popular, but obviously Harry Potter kind of was taking over, but they would play all the reruns. And I remember at 7:30, Goosebumps would start on Fox Kids. And then as soon as that ended, you would switch over to Nickelodeon because Are You Afraid of the Dark was always late in Australia. It was always on at 8:30, something like that. So I had my little system worked out where I would watch Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and it's funny, My Hometown, I remember that show too, that would come on as well. So it was all kind of connected somehow.
Yeah, and Lassie was so similar to My Hometown. They always ended on this happy note. It was a really family show. So on Lassie, as a joke, because My Hometown was shooting at the same time. So on Lassie, at the end of every episode, it would be a one-liner, and then Lassie would bark, and then we would all laugh. Right? So it was it was always the same thing. But what we used to do, me and the lead actor, is we would do the whole roo roo ha ha ha, and then we go in my hometown, and they'd be like, no, cut, because it's the same formula for both shows,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so funny. No, and I mean I can imagine, because this was late into the series. Was there? Since this was the final episode, I don't know if this was final in terms of production. I don't know if maybe this one got done before another one. But was there sort of a vibe behind the scenes of this is the end sort of thing, or was it just kind of everything's business as usual?
No, there was a whole, because the cast was different every time, so we didn't have that feeling of this long-term thing's coming to an end, but the crew did for sure, because they had been involved in the whole thing. And I remember, because it was a two-parter, or because of scheduling, R.L. Stine came to the set of the before last one. So Laura and I were crushed, because I was like, oh, he's not coming to this one? But this is the last one, and I wanted to meet him because I was a fan of, so he didn't come to the last one, but he came to the before. And when I remember the first day I got there, I think for the table read, they were all talking about it. They were all over the moon. They're like, oh, he was so cool. R.L. Stine came. And I was like, I think I was 13 at the time. And I'm like, okay, he's coming back. And they're like, no, no, he was here for this, and now he has a scheduling thing, and I was like, oh no. But it still felt really like honored because it was still the last episode, and it was a 2-parter, so there was like more shooting, and it was such an epic like ending kind of thing. So super lucky to have that.
Did you ever get a chance to read the Deep Trouble and its sequel before you got involved with the episode?
I read Deep Trouble, the first one, before the episode, and I remember being like, that's not Deep Trouble, but I didn't read the second one, and I heard after that the second one was the one that it was more based on.
Yeah, that is the weird thing because Deep Trouble 1 it deals with like a sea monster, and then there's a mermaid, and then there's this whole like trying to hunt the mermaid thing. The sequel deals with the genetically altered plankton that makes the fish grow into monster size and sort of like messes with humans and turns them into like hybrid fish creatures. And it's weird that they did go with the sequel for this one. Not that I don't think that that they couldn't have done the first one. I feel like they could have done the first one as a book or as an episode in some way. But it's also not uncommon because they did the same thing for the first Slappy episode all the way back to season 1. The first Slappy episode was not based on the first Slappy book. It was based on the second one. So
originally they called it Night of the Living Dummy 2, though.
Yeah,
because they called it Night of the Living Dummy 2. They didn't call Deep Trouble 2.
They did, but it was when they did. You uploaded all these videos actually, Isaiah, on your channel. But when they originally were like promoting Night of the Living Dummy, they just called it Night of the Living Dummy. They didn't call it Night of the Living Dummy 2. They say catch Night of the Living Dummy on a brand new episode. So it was almost like they were almost going to just call it that, but
it was so odd.
That is odd, though. That is odd, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They did it a couple times in Goosebumps.
It caused so much confusion because whenever they would like, for that DVD that Bjorn was showing, it uses the cover art for the first book and not the second book, which has this little fishy on there. But that was just always a weird thing. But so I was curious if you knew about that going in. If I'm not mistaken, I think this book was not too old by the time this episode premiered.
I was confused when I read the script for sure. I was like, but I read the book. This isn't the script. Like, that's not what happened. But I hadn't read the second one, so I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's a very weird turnaround that they did, but whatever. I'm not a screenwriter.
I don't know. Like, well, the thing they did with Goosebumps, like with a lot of it, is they would read the books and go, "Oh no, this won't work." So Deep Trouble 2, I think, does work better for an episode. Like, I think they could have done the first one, like you said, Isaiah, but I guess,
but it was so much in the water, right? The first one was so much in the water, and I think that drives production costs like through the roof because you got to get everybody out on the water all the time, and I'm sure that would have been like. Yeah.
Big role.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, because this one is like, I think there's one scene. Well, no, there's two scenes. There's one at the beginning with the shark fake out. It's actually Billy pranking Sheena. And then there's the scene where they have to go to the island, and then that's where they get deserted. But most of the episode takes place on land. It takes place at the house and then on the island. More of the aquatic themes come from the sort of creatures that get affected: the fish, people, the giant iguana, the giant crab, things like that.
Oh, just speaking of the sets, the lab, when you go down into the lab, that was actually also in studio, and it was in the same studio as the cave. So like the lab was over here, and the cave was like 20 feet away. So it was like the same. So we'd be shooting like that scene, and then we'd just jump to the other scene.
That's so cool. And I love that lab scene too, like the sort of the lighting of the greens and the blues, and just all like the fish tanks and the beakers. It was a really cool set for a sort of monster chase or whatever.
Yeah, and then the ant was on the other side of the lab. So the lab was there, the giant ant was right here, and then the caves were over there. It was all in the same studio, so we never had to leave. Like, there was the on location stuff was the beach and the house, but then all of the cave stuff and then the lab and the going through the tunnels, that was all on location. No.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, another fun fact, I don't know if you guys know, but Laura was a black belt she's black belt second Dan, I think, by the time we were shooting. So like I was all proud because I think I just got my black belt, and I was like, yeah, I'm a black belt, because we started talking about it, and she's like, yeah, that's cool, that's really cool. I'm a black belt second Dan, and I was like, what? I'm like, how already? Like, just,
it's like you got humbled right there.
yeah, I was so proud of it.
Now, I guess that's a great segue into my next question. What was it like getting to work with Laura as your co-star?
It was cool. It was cool, and it's actually like the only time where, because I had been doing it for a while, and I think that was one of her first gigs. So for her, it was like brand new, and she was just kind of getting to know the acting scene, and we became friends like instantly. I was playing a lot of Magic: The Gathering. I was a bit of a nerd. I was like really into Magic, but then we bonded over like talking about karate and martial arts and stuff. And then we stayed friends ever since, and we never worked together on anything else for years and years and years. And we stayed friends, and we wrote a film together, a feature film that we were pitching, and it's still kind of in development. So like creatively we line up too. She's very good at coming up with ideas and like blue skying, like, and feeling the market, like what would work right now, what's kind of the story that needs to be told right now. And I love screenwriting, so I love like figuring out the problem. Like if she gives me the problem, I'm like, okay, let's try to figure out like how these characters are going to interact and how we build the story, like concretely. And so yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to creatively work with her, and like even for auditions and stuff, when we do self tapes, I'll read for her and I'll give her feedback if she wants, and she'll do the same for me, and we try to get the best out of each other. So it's just like so good to have a friend like that's been like goes back that far and that's been in it from the beginning. And we also share a lot of the same struggles, like being a child actor in the 90s and then coming up now and making the transition to being an adult actor, and then now I'm 40, so like just all of the things and how the industry has changed from filming with like we had a residual system and everything was on television to now everything's streaming, and how even the audition process is different. So we have like someone to kind of bounce it off of, and even just rant sometimes about our frustrations or whatever. But we have a shared kind of experience, so it's fun. I'm very grateful for that relationship that we got to.
Yeah, you've been acting buddies since 1998. Like that's awesome. And it's good to have someone that you can like bounce off, like, because then you get the best out of each other because you're comfortable with each other and you can, try to, and give each other feedback. So that's awesome.
Well,
So the big two is like her and Corey Sevier, also from Lassie. Same thing. We're still like good friends. Our kids play together. We visit them whenever we can. Like we're still really, really tight.
Corey Sevier?
Sevier, another Goosebumps veteran. In fact, I think he was in the episode prior. I believe it was
Cry the Cat.
It was the third episode of season 4, Cry the Cat. He's one of the supporting characters, and then he was also in Night in Terror Tower also. So that's awesome that you got to work with him. He's another one that's been eluding us for an interview.
Well, I'll message him too.
I've been trying to get in touch with him because we had Catherine Short on here a couple times, and so we had a Terror Tower retrospective, and I was going to try to get them both on together.
Still make it happen.
We couldn't get in touch with them.
Still make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. I'll message both of them. I'll try to get them on because they remember people.
I mean, it's pretty amazing. Because when we had Catherine Long on here, I told her the same thing. I was like, I've been trying to get in touch with Catherine Short. I was going to try to get her on an episode with you. She's like, oh yeah, no, I still talk to her too. Let me see if she's interested in it. I was like, okay. I was like, fantastic. I was like, I can't.
That's how we made it happen. So
cool.
So that's how we get a lot of this, and how we've actually been able to keep these kind of connections and still, bring them back every once in a while, or talk to them about opportunities outside of the podcast, which hopefully our fans will find out about soonish with announcements. We'll talk a little bit after that. This podcast tonight, Todd. I can't put it on here, but just yet anyway.
One thing I will say is that it goes back to that sort of like just talent pool of like how everybody knew somebody. Like everybody knew somebody. It was almost like it was almost like whether you knew it or not, it was like one big extended family. Like everybody got to work with somebody at some point. And
even when you didn't know, like you'd work with another, like for child actors, I'd work with another actor, and you're like, I saw you in that thing, and you're the guy from the thing. Like we all knew each other, like, or I just missed you. I did the episode before you. I did the episode after you. Yeah, it was a small pool, like you said, a small pool.
Definitely.
It is, and I know we got. I think it was. I want to say it was Catherine. I could be wrong. Catherine Long. But they said usually when they go to audition somewhere, usually you see the same people. So they're like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Blah blah blah. Because again, small pool. You're just going around to all these different kid shows, from Are You Afraid of the Dark and
you'd think it'd be more competitive. Honestly, you'd think it'd be more like, oh, I'm getting this. I'm going to psych this person out. But it's so friendly. It's like, because we all know we're all in the same thing, and we're all dealing with so much rejection all the time. Because even if you're good, you only get 1 out of every 40 auditions or something. So we're all just supportive. It's like, hey, great to see you. Break a leg. You want to run lines before you go in? Like 9 times out of 10, actors are like that in a waiting room. It's like there's no, I'm trying to psych you out or whatever. And the ones that are like that, nobody really likes them anyway, so it's like after a while they just kind of don't work as much, so it's fine, Well,
that's the thing. I can imagine too, like with child actors, it's like you don't, when you're a child, you don't have that like sense of cynicism where you're just kind of like, I want this and nobody else should have it. Like,
I gotta pay the rent.
Kind of like, I'm just happy to be here. Like I'm just happy to be here. So
yeah.
That's
there
awesome.
were some you could tell, like I'm not gonna name any names, but there's a couple that you could tell, but it only came from like a crazy stage mom or something that was coaching them to be like, hey, you don't talk to the other, that's your competition, like, but most of the time the kids we're all just playing in the waiting room. It's just like, and then go in and have fun. And
that's funny. Just imagine that mom like walking up to the casting director. So has he got the gig, or like, I'm sure there was moms that did that.
I will write a very angry email.
I think that spans across everything.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to me that you say that, because like my daughter, when she's watching TV, sometimes it's Dance Moms, and I don't sit here and watch the whole episode, but I can hear it, and I'm just like, why do you watch this? It's like, this is awful. These parents are awful. These kids just want to dance, man. I was like, and that teacher's awful. And she's just like, you're entertaining. She's like, I can't get enough of it.
We can reference other movies on this. We can say like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So do you remember? Was it in Borat or Bruno, the movie where he had the parents come in and like, we're just gonna need to tan the babies. That's okay with you, right? They need to tan a little bit, and the parents are like, oh yeah, absolutely, that's fine. Yeah, sure. A couple minutes in the tanning bed, no problem. And it's like a 1-year-old, and like they'll do anything to get the kid in the gig. It's like, what?
They're desperate for their kids to be like famous, like, because then they get to be the parents of that kid. So,
well, that's exactly.
They live vicariously through their celebrity status.
Yeah, I want the celebrity status by being the parent of a celebrity. So, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So, in terms of your, you didn't get to act along too many other co-stars besides Laura, but you did have Dr. Deep, Billy and Sheena's uncle, and then a few, as you said, Jason, who played the squid person that helps you out at the end. But any standouts from the other cast members that you can remember
from Goosebumps, or?
Yeah.
I mean, they were all super cool and very nice and professional and good with us because we were kids too. So like, it was good. No, I don't remember. I remember thinking that the Jason guy was so cool because I was like 13 or 14 and he was like 20. And I was like, oh, this guy's got it made. He's so cool. He's showing up. I think he came in a motorcycle or something. And like, I was like, oh, he's so cool,
I would not be surprised. He looks like the kind of guy who would have like a leather jacket on, riding on like a Harley or something like that.
Like a bomber in like the 90s.
Exactly. That's the thing too. It's like he did sort of seem like come off as like that older brother-esque sort of person, like sort of that guy who would just come up to you and be like, like, you doing all right? Like, you need anything? That sort of thing.
Like trying to play a lab tech nerdy dude, but you could tell he's super cool. Like he's just a cool guy. So yeah,
definitely, absolutely. Were there any sort of challenges that you faced in filming this episode? Was there any sort of like rough spots that you went through, or was it all pretty smooth sailing?
I mean, there's some pretty long hours, I guess, like because especially the last scene. I remember the last scene when we confront all the fish people and the doctor, and it's Laura and I and Jason's character and we're all together. So the scene there's such a big cast, and there was like torches in the background, and we're in that huge room, and I think we had to come down from like a high point. We were like up I remember like had to physically climb the thing and be up there. So like that was challenging because like anybody makes a mistake and it's over. We got to restart. It's not like just me and Laura or like, 3 actors and there's a wide shot or a close up, and it was like everybody and the big wide shot of everybody. So I remember that wide shot taking forever, like take after take after take after take. But you got to get it. You got to get it perfect because it's like it looks good when everybody's on their A game and you see the whole thing, right?
Exactly.
But and some of the stuff by the water, like when we had to go into the water, it was very, very cold, and we had to pretend like it was a tropical island and like it's nice and the water's nice, but it's freezing like up to our knees. So that was a bit. Oh, and I loved. I mean, because I do martial arts and I did a lot of my own stunts in some movies and stuff. So I love doing stuff like that. But there was the trapdoor thing where we fall down. He grabs me by the mouth, and then I fall through like a little trapdoor. And I love doing that. We did that a bunch of times to make it look as scary as possible. Mm-hmm. So that part was really cool.
Your own stunts.
Yeah.
Got to do your own stunts.
That must have been a really big thing for 90s kids, because that's what I did too. I did martial arts, but I didn't do karate. I did taekwondo. Cool. So it's funny that, it's Goosebumps, martial arts, and, and just, of course, every kid wants to be a stunt person. You know what I mean? Like with all your friends around, of course. So to actually grow up there and get to do it, though, is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, and like the martial arts was a big, like it was my grounding thing. Like that was the thing that gave me a lot of confidence and made me feel like I can do anything on set. Like whatever they ask, like, yeah, I could do that. I could try to figure out how to do that. And a little off topic, but I did a movie in my early 20s in China where I was like a wushu warrior. So I was like the martial artist, and we got to do wire work because it was close to, I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon had just came out. So we did a bunch of stuff where like I run up a building or, jump off a bit, like, and it was all wires, and I loved it. It was the coolest. It was like flying, and they're all like queued up. Yeah.
See, I feel like the wire harness, like, I guess maybe depending on the person, it's very uncomfortable though. Like, yeah. Is it really that uncomfortable? You get used to, like, so to do a side kick, it's really tough because it pulls you straight up. So how are you going to turn sideways? You got to like turn sideways and then kind of like bring yourself back. It's all like core. You have to like, mm-hmm. But I liked when it would bring you up. Like jumping off things sucked because it's kind of like more you're going down and they're controlling the descent. But when you would jump up something to climb and they would just accelerate your lift, that was cool because it felt weightless. Felt like, oh, I'm like a superhero. I could just climb up this building. Like, right. It was
that's awesome.
Well, I guess imagine like just being a kid. Like if I were a kid and I were like being able to do like these crazy stunts, like action stunts, because you usually see stunts. It's usually like adults who are doing them because they're the ones who are trained. They're the ones, and also you don't have to deal with liability issues.
Yeah, you drop a kid out of a tree. It's like it's a big problem.
Exactly. It's like, then you have a real problem on your hands.
Dropping a kid out of a tree, yeah, that's cool.
Which they did drop me out of a tree in my first movie. I was 8 or 9, and I mean it was a crash mat and it was a whole big thing. But I did climb up a huge tree, and the camera didn't catch me falling or the bottom. They just wanted to catch this part, like just like whoosh. So they dropped me like from, I'd say 25, 30 feet and that's when the stunt guys gave me my stunt badge. Like, it was stunt unit at the time. And they gave me this black, I'll remember, it was like black and chrome around, and it said stunt unit, and they're like, you got your credits. You're in the stunt union now. Like, you are a stunt. And I was like 8 years old. I was like, yes!
Yes.
That's cute.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've asked a couple others that have come on here before, especially with the new Goosebumps Disney Plus show. I asked them, because watching the episodes, I'm like, did they let you do your own stunts or do anything? Very few times would they actually do anything. I mean, even to the point where, like, I was told, I think it was Gallia said that they wouldn't even let her be carried over a shoulder for somebody. That was her stunt double. I was like, just to be carried. I was like, that's crazy.
It was like the Wild West. Like, I remember, okay, so in Lassie, the first episode, Corey and I, Timmy and Jeff, we go on a raft and we almost fall off a waterfall. So, but the raft had a link on it, so the raft wouldn't go far. Like, it was tethered with a cord, a steel cord, and we had life jackets on. So, and there's divers and everything. But that was the first scene we shot of the whole series. We shot that scene first, and me and Corey always joke from the beginning. We're like, yeah, because if they were going to lose us, they could reshoot. Exactly. Like, if we went over the fall, hire some other 2 kids, get 2 more.
Yeah, it's like trial and error.
Yeah, like, that's the most dangerous thing we ever did in Lassie, and they did it first.
Wow. I mean, I guess it's efficient. I'll give them that. Yeah.
It was safe, though. For real, like, to be honest, it was safe. Like, they had divers and everything. Yeah. It was very safe.
Oh, like, how ironic.
Wow.
Going back to the Goosebumps episode, I do want to ask. So, we talked about Jason's prosthetics, which was really cool because he had like these tentacles all over his face. But there's multiple people in that episode who have sort of fish-like mutations on them. What was your reaction to just some of those, like, those masks and prosthetics when you first saw them?
It was so cool because you could see them doing it too. Like, it takes hours and hours, and we're waiting to go in. So, like, we're just hanging around. We're just 2 teenagers hanging around waiting to shoot. So we have nothing else to do. We didn't have cell phones. So we would go over, and I would watch them put it on, and I was just in awe. I was like, it takes forever, and it looks so good. And there's a lot of touch-ups, like, because these are real live people, and they're moving, and they're acting, and the lights are hot. So, like, sometimes, like, the tentacle kind of detaches, and they got to come back with the glue and make it, perfect and blend right before. So the touch-ups were all, it was the makeup touch-ups, but then also the special effects touch-ups. But I find that, even just as a spectator, forget, like, being an actor and in it, but when I watch movies, it's so much more realistic when you can tell that's a real person standing there. That's a real, like, CG, no matter how good it is, it always kind of takes me out of, I'm like, okay, so the real story's happening and there's some special effects, cool. But when the monster's a real freaking monster and, like, they have the hair and the tentacles and the teeth, it's like, that's really there. Like, and you can tell, you could feel it. So I love that they can do that. I got one of the, like, from BrainScan, Alain, I think was his name. He did my prosthetics. Like, my dad just took me there and asked if they would do my Halloween costume because I had just done BrainScan, and then I wanted to be a werewolf for Halloween, and he did the nose, he did the ears, he did, like, teeth and everything. So I showed up to elementary school, and people were like, dude, like, you look like it's like a real horror movie. Like, I had a fursuit, and then I put clothes over top that I tore, so the hair was coming out. It was in the most epic costume done by a professional, like, special effects guy, and he was just so nice. It's really cool.
That is so cool.
They'll be like, full mask. It'd have been like, you think this is a mask?
Is there a photo? Is there a photo of that?
I do. My dad has the picture. I could get it, but my dad has the picture. Yeah.
Oh, man, I'd love to see that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
School with a professional makeup artist having done your Halloween costume. I can only imagine.
Yeah, and I didn't win the costume thing. I didn't win. Somebody else won the costume thing, and I was like, what? What do you have to do to win this?
They probably thought you looked too good. Like, he didn't do that. Like, he didn't do that.
No, they were probably just like, oh man, this kid's gonna swamp everyone else. We better do something about this.
Hey, I have to tell a very quick story about that. So when the second Goosebumps movie came out, they had a costume competition, and you got to win. Like, obviously being the big collector, like, I know I didn't get it because I'm not a kid, right? But I like went in with my full like Slappy dummy, like my proper like well-made one that cost thousands of dollars. I dressed as R.L. Stein with the full morph suit, and I didn't win. And I'm like, I was full on like the embodied the whole thing. People were taking photos of me because they thought it looked so cool. I think it was more just the Slappy doll they wanted photos with. And then, yeah, I didn't win it. So I'm like, I guess you look too good. And they're like, no, that's just unfair to the kids. Like,
it's unfair. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah,
who cares about the kids? Let me win my prize.
I deserved it. Deserving.
Oh, speaking of which, you being a Goosebumps fan, and then you get to be on the Goosebumps show. You said that you were having a whole competition with your friend for all the books. Was that something you were able to lord over them? Just be like, well, I got to be on the show.
I won. I win.
Oh, surely.
Yeah. It's like, you may have all these books, but were you on the show? I didn't think so.
You know what's funny is, like, I got teased for being on Lassie because high school kids, you know, like I was a junior, like I was grade 7 or 8 and they were grade 11. So I got teased for being on Lassie. I got even a bit teased for Are You Afraid of the Dark for the episode that I did. But I never got teased for Goosebumps. It was like, yo, cool. That's really cool. Like, it was like everybody just thought that was cool. And I was like, oh, thanks.
The kids that tease are jealous. They're just, that's it. You know, like, they're just jealous. But I mean, like, I can just imagine you sitting there, like, with your friend, you know, you Goosebumps, and you guys are sitting there and the commercial comes on. You're like, oh, who's that? Who's that? Like,
Who's that? Who
that is?
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Oh man, I don't know. I just pictured that in my head. Like, oh, it's so funny.
What was your favorite scene to shoot overall? Like, what would you say was probably like your favorite scene?
I think the whole lab thing, just because of how visually stimulating everything was that they had in there, and then like I said with the air pressure darts shooting through the door, like. It was an adrenaline rush. Like, it was really fun. We had to run in and get behind the thing. Because it was one shot. Like, we had to get in and then go behind. And then when we said we were behind, like, the second AD or the first AD would cue the guy to shoot the darts. So it's like, no, these darts are coming in. When they yell action, we better be behind the thing. Like, so the likelihood, like, in retro, the likelihood we would have got hit with them is 0 to maybe slight. But, like, as a kid, you're like, oh, this is, like, happening. They're going to shoot this stuff. So, yeah, that was, and just that whole scene, because we had this feeling like we're not supposed to be here. Like, we were in character, you know, like, this is a taboo area we're not supposed to be, and then, like, spilling it, and the fish was, like, so cool but tacky at the same time. It was like perfect 90s, like almost into the B movie era, you know, like it's funny a bit on purpose, but it also is kind of scary, you know. It was
you look at all those shows back then, like Power Rangers and all that, they all had this, and it was the charm.
That was the thing that was so awesome about the Goosebumps 90s show, is that it had those creatures in it that like looked awesome, but they also looked a little silly at the same time.
Exactly. Even the ants, you're like, okay, is it really, like, it's just a big paper mache thing? Like, is it? But we're terrified of it, and
Well, that's the thing. It's like it moves like so stiffly, like because you can't have it like move too quickly because you can't have an animatronic do that. But at least maybe, you know, not at the time, not in the budget, but no, it always is just something really funny. It's something I always make fun of with my friends. It's like, look, that looks awesome, but I can't help but laugh at it too, because I'm just like, that looks a little corny.
And it's cool that, like you were saying before, like it had like multiple lifespans. Like, it was cool in the 90s and then it disappeared for a bit, then it came back. And like just a couple of years ago, my wife and kids went up to her hometown way up north, and they stopped in Seven Islands. It's this little Quebec town. and they stayed with some of their family they haven't seen for a while. And the little cousins were like 7 and 8, and they were watching my episode of Goosebumps. And like my wife is like, "That's my husband," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "No, that's the one. Like, why are you watching this? It's like a 25-year-old show, like, but the kids love it and they're watching it, and it just keeps coming back. It's so cool, you know."
It's back.
You know, it's amazing to me too, because I mean, we've had multiple people on here. Some have said that, you know, they're not really recognized when they're out and about, but like Eugene Lipinski, who was in The Girl Who Cried Monster, played Mr. Mortman. He was on here and said the same thing. He's like, you know, when I'm out and about, he's like, I sometimes still get recognized as Mr. Mortman, and
Yeah.
he like loves it. And it's really cool that has just completely transcended time, because everybody knows the song and can remember the show a little bit, but now it's just like a full resurgence again. It's really come back probably in the last 5 years. And this year it actually celebrates its 30th anniversary, so that's actually really cool.
The TV series, yeah. The books are
90s show,
Yeah, the books I believe are 33 though, so they're just as old.
So how many seasons did it do in total? Was it 3 or 4 seasons, or
4 seasons? Yep. So, but the 4th season was weird because it was 4 two-parters. So you had Deep Trouble was the last one. Then you had Cry the Cat, The Ghost Next Door, and How I Got My Shrunken Head. So those were the 4 last episodes, and they were all two-parters.
wow.
But it was a pretty popular show. Looking at least from like Fox Kids, it was number 1 for a very long time. In fact, I think 1996 was like the most popular year. They would do all these promotions, they would do all these contests, these sweepstakes with Goosebumps. It was everywhere. It really, really was.
That was the peak year. We call 96 was peak.
96 and 97, I would say. That like those 2 years is when it really started like getting a bunch of merchandise. It started really, really becoming popular. And then by 98, 99, it started like, you know, topping off a little bit. Which is honestly, we joke about Harry Potter and things like that, but honestly, sometimes things just do that. You know, fads come and go, and once the new thing comes on the block, you know, things are bound to die off.
Oddly, it was still
kind of
in
goes back
Australia.
to what you had said before, with getting teased for doing Lassie, you know, and that's why Goosebumps tried to evolve doing Series 2000, because the kids were growing up and they try to make it a little more edgy-ish, you know, with their covers and the stories. So they try to keep the kids as they were growing up, but it just didn't really catch on as much, which is kind of sad, because actually, I don't know if you did read any of Series 2000, but it's really good.
The new ones? I didn't read the new ones, no.
Yeah, the Series 2000, those came after there was the original series, so like the ones that everybody knows, like these ones. There was 62 of those, and then after that, there was like a sequel series that came out called Series 2000. It wasn't, I don't think it was as advertised, and it's not as remembered. The original books, those are the ones everyone knows, because they were the ones that were the most printed. Those were the most iconic ones. So, but yeah, but the TV series had a pretty decent run of about 3 years. 3 years, 4 seasons. So, and I think 70 something episodes, if you count two-parters as 2 episodes.
70. Wow.
Yep. So, but yeah, no, I mean, people still show, I mean, people now show it to their kids. Like, you know, kids who grew up in the 90s with the series are now adults, and they're showing it to their kids now, the books, the show. And 90s nostalgia is just big right now. Like, everybody's going back to their childhoods. Everybody is being like, hey, I used to grow up with this. Like, I know everything about this. For a while,
have you guys been to any 90s cons? Like, I
haven't been to a 90s con, but I have been to a horror con. And a gaming con, and both of them I dressed up in like Goosebumps garb, and I got tons of people being like, I love Goosebumps, or I grew up with that, or can I take a picture with your Slappy that you're carrying around?
Yeah, because I really wanted to go to a 90s con, but with like affiliated with Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, because it was such a big part of the 90s. But I saw there's some pretty big 90s cons that are just like general 90s, like all the shows and all of the stuff. I want to get into that. I want to like check some of them out.
There's a few of them out there, and some of them are starting to do the horror conventions. I mean, they're starting to get into the casts, and I feel that's, not to be like very big-headed on the subject, I guess, but I think a lot of that stems from actually this podcast, because like we're bringing a lot of the actors who've been out of the light, most of them for a long time.
Imagine a lot of them want to do bigger when we say all this. Just
yeah, no, I mean, I'm serious though. Like even Amos Crawley said it. He's like, I didn't even know there was a Goosebumps nostalgia until you guys told me. Like, I did your podcast, and now he's doing conventions, as you were mentioning.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so cool.
It's stuff like that. It's like, we love hearing the stories, but we like also the fact that, fans of the show can learn about things behind the scenes and potentially even meet some of you guys in person and get autographs and talk to you for a little bit. So really cool. And even Cal Dodd, he voiced Slappy, but he's mostly known for voicing Wolverine in the X-Men animated series.
Whoa, the 97 one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he did the original and the 97. He was
on our show too. Actually, one of our first guests, if you can believe it.
Yeah. That's an epic role to have that Wolverine character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he does Slappy? He does the voice of Slappy?
Yep. Yeah, he did the voice of Slappy, but he also did the opening voice for the Goosebumps theme song, like "Viewer Beware, You're In for a Scare." That was his voice too.
And apparently they
utilized him as much
barking.
As they could.
That's him.
Supposedly, he says he did dog barking too.
Or really did the dog barking?
He said he did the dog barking. He's like,
yeah. So the arf, that's him. That's that's Wolverine.
That's literally
that's Wolverine.
That just changed my whole life. That blew my mind.
Just think that you got
we had no idea.
Like, guys, let's him. Let's use as much as we can from him.
Even my gosh!
When
I can't watch the theme song the same way, knowing that's a guy doing that. Like,
yeah,
no, that was totally us too.
I literally had people like after that episode message like calling him a liar. I'm like, why would he lie about that of all things?
Like, you're ruining my childhood. You're a liar.
You can't convince me otherwise.
Stop it.
But then he also did the lawn gnomes too.
I feel like it's the ending of Halloween 3, where Tom Atkins is just yelling, "Stop it! Stop it!" That's what I feel like the fans are doing. Stop it!
See, because of as Nick was trying to catch on, but because of the Goosebumps fandom now, he actually has like Slappy prints now, like at his table, because there's so many Goosebumps fans, and like people even bring their Slappy dolls up, like their full like $1,000, $2,000 ones that they've gotten, like, for him to hold and do like a photo op picture now. So it's just changed. Goosebumps is really, it's hit that nostalgia.
That leads me very well into my next question. Is just like, what do you think of like Goosebumps' long-lasting appeal? Being a part of the franchise and being a fan. Knowing that it's still going on today and that it has all these people like coming into it. How do you react to that?
It's really, I mean, it's cool. Like, it's just really cool because you never know when you do something as an actor, like what's gonna be forever. Like, it's gonna be just keep going, and even like the fact that it was popular for a bit was a blessing. Was like, oh, nice. And then but 30 years later, it doesn't even compute. I'm like, wow. Like, there must have been there's some kind of magic but I know the stories. I used to read the stories as a kid, and it's horror, but it's for kids, and it's just enough. And there's a magic in Goosebumps. It's like, it's a perfect series for a perfect, like, the stories are just perfect. Like, I understand why. But it's cool because, like I said, you never know. Like, you never know. I do some video games where, like, I'll do, 2 days on this video game as a character, and, like, it never goes anywhere. No one's ever heard of it. It's just into the void. and then you'll do another one that like wins all the indie awards and like just blows up out of nowhere and everyone loves it, and there's no way to tell when you're doing it. You're like, I think it was good because we did our best, but you never know how people are going to react to something. And how I'm the most shocked at the like how many times it's come back around. Like it's like resilient, like crazy. It's like, you know, it came back with the movies and it was coming back with the show, and there's fans that watch it again and they're still watching the old one. That's what I'm most shocked about, that like it just keeps coming back. So we did something right. It's got to be
for sure.
Long legs, you know, very, very long legs. It's like we were talking earlier how you said you did Brain Scan when it came out, but no one really cared about it when it came out. But now all of a sudden it's like every con Eddie goes to, like people ask him about it now. So it's just weird how 30 years later something can just blow up.
That's another thing too.
Fan base.
It's like maybe something doesn't like hit its stride right in that moment, but then like years later people are like, wait, I actually really like that. And then it starts like growing a new, like, you know, just the cult classic sort of effect.
Oh yeah, there's
100%.
There's several films that have just blown up that were just considered nothing at the time. You know, Hocus Pocus, how big that is now, and the cast doing all that stuff now. You know, when it first came out, it was a dud, and nobody talked about it for a long time. And supposedly, ironically enough, the drag community, I guess, is credited for basically bringing that back to life. Which I didn't know about, but that's got a huge following in the drag community, I suppose. But even the movie Trick or Treat, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Halloween film, couldn't get a theatrical release, so they released it on like an indie market, like at the very last movie at a film festival, and it did so well that it kept carrying, and now it's huge.
Well, I just watched the documentary.
Everything has to find its own path.
Well, I just watched the documentary.
So sometimes it's
called Not Just a Goof. It's for a Goofy movie, and it just came out on Disney Plus, and it was about the production of that movie. And at the time, it was a critical and commercial failure, and then it just got this huge following behind it, and now people consider it like one of the Disney classics. Like, they're like, it's on par with what was coming out at the time, like Lion King and Aladdin. That's so weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when I did Brain Scan for the couple of years after, I would tell everybody, because I was like, well, Eddie Furlong's in it, so it's a big deal. And I was like, yeah, I was in Brain Scan, and they were like, I don't know what that is. Like nobody knew, like nobody cared. And then like now people care more than when it came out, like when in the first couple of years.
Weird. He says it's weird. Yeah.
Do you guys like? It's my favorite cult classic that like I got obsessed with. But do you like Army of Darkness? You ever seen that?
Absolutely.
Army of Darkness. Yeah.
I love that movie. I had the poster up in my wall. Like that's the best movie ever. Like Evil Dead 1 was kind of like trying to be serious. Evil Dead 2, they're making fun of themselves. But Army of Darkness was just out of this world. It's perfect.
Army of Darkness is so funny.
Yeah,
it's like
easily my favorite one of the original Evil Dead films.
Yeah.
Now I didn't much care for the reboot that happened. The first one, not
Ash versus the Evil Dead. That one.
there was a
they did a reboot without Bruce Campbell actually, and it was okay. I mean, he had a cameo thing at the very end. It was just really just him with like a backlit shot, and he said groovy, and that was all he did. So the best part of the film was the ending, technically, when he was there.
I like that movie.
But no, then they did Evil Dead Rise, the most recent one. I thought that one was good. But nothing compares to what came before with Bruce Campbell's films.
Army of Darkness is so funny.
Army of Darkness it's just untouchable, I feel, at this point.
My friend and I in our
boomstick.
So my friend and I, before we went out one night, we were like 22 maybe, and we had a drinking game, and we watched Army of Darkness, and we're like, every time he gets hit in the face, you got to take a drink. And we made it like half an hour in, and we're like, I can't, time out, we're done. Like, we're just
No, you'll die of alcohol poisoning by the time the movie's over.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love Army of Darkness.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And
hurts my liver thinking about it.
In terms of just the episode itself of Deep Trouble, like I mean, have you gone back to watch it recently, or since you did the episode, or?
I see clips because sometimes Laura even will share clips and be like look at us, like look at us babies, like when we were little, and the mushroom cut, full 90s, like mushroom cut with the split down the middle down to here, like.
You all had that.
We all had that.
The male leads in Goosebumps had that haircut, and it all started with John Connor. I feel like that's where it started, and then just
and we had straight hair, straight thin hair. Yeah, I don't know. So I've watched it a few times, and I've seen clips, but I haven't watched the full thing in the last 10 years at least. Sat down and watched it, which is stupid because I should watch it. My son's 10. I should just watch it with him. But I think he'll just laugh at me the whole time. He'll be
well, that's kind of what goes with parenting, let me tell you, because it's kind of like I asked any of the parents that come on here too, because I think I'm the only one with a kid who has watched Goosebumps, because I raised her that way. She needed to learn about Goosebumps and other horror things.
Yeah.
But she knows I do this podcast and who I get to talk to every now and again, like yourself and some others from the show, or, the new Disney Plus show. And she's like, oh, that's cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, what? This would blow my 10-year-old mind back in the day. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to listen to other people, like Amos was on here, just to put him out there, because he was in Billy Madison, and he's been in all these other films and stuff that we've all seen him, and he's like, yeah, my kids don't care.
Huh.
He's like, but you're how can you not be the cool dad? You did this and this. He's like, yeah, no, they don't care. I was like, oh, that's so sad. I was like, I feel the pain though, because my kid's the same way.
So if you made a TikTok movie, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
Well, my son actually just recently became a full-fledged ACTRA member, which is a member of the Actors Union in Canada. So he did some dubbing for Netflix a little bit, and he did a car insurance commercial on the radio. So he got his credits, and now he's in. And I was so proud when he did, because I do a lot of voice work. When he did the insurance commercial, I was in the booth with him, and I was just quiet, and I just watched him. And if the director, I asked, is it okay if I kind of help with the direction? Because I know how to tell him that, but only if you want. But I was so proud of him. I was like, he did it. They loved it. And I was like, yes! He nailed it. And he took the direction without, a lot of kids would be intimidated. Or he was just he's listening intently. And he was like, okay, yeah, cool, got it. I was like, okay. He's just taking it in and doing what he's supposed to do. It was great.
That's so great. That's awesome. That's so cool. Now, I do have to bring up, because our audience loves when we talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark? Now, we had mentioned that you were in not one but two episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? You did a Tale of the Forever game first, then you did Goosebumps, and then you did Tale of the Silver Sight. The latter of which was a huge deal. That was a 3-parter episode.
A 3-parter.
Yeah.
And it was the only one that the cast of the Midnight Society was in the episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
that was telling the story; they were in it.
Because they were it was always, they were just the framing device, and then all of a sudden they become the main characters of an episode. I remember I binged the whole series, and that was just whoa, holy shit, that's so cool.
And they were the second generation, right, of the Midnight Society in that one.
Yeah,
I think?
By that point, so. They did the first 5 seasons, then they took a break, and then they came back for seasons 6 and 7, and they had a whole new Midnight Society. But for the Silver Side episode, they brought back the actor for Gary. He was the only returning one. But his brother, Tucker, was on the show from the very beginning. He was just older by the time they did the new Midnight Society. So, But you got to be in that episode and Tale of the Forever game. What was it like to just kind of do those episodes and that show as a whole?
Well, I was actually in 3, but it was not very known. I had the tiniest part. There was one, the ghost, the kid ghost. I forget what it was called. The silver
Frozen
ghost. Yes, Frozen Ghost. So I wasn't the Frozen Ghost, but I was the double for the Frozen Ghost, because at one point he duplicates, he's in the distance and he's there, and I was the double of the Frozen Ghost.
Oh,
So it was like 3. I got to do a little night shoot, and I didn't have any lines, but it was like one of my first gigs, right? So I was just kind of,
so cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
But it was really cool. Like the Forever game, what I remember the most about that was when I fall into the ground and like into the quicksand, but they had like dug this hole, and then they had a rubber, like you could barely fit in it. You had to stretch the rubber to get in. So I would like literally get into this hole and then pop my head out, and then they would fill around with ground. So I was like fully in the ground. And those I have a couple of pictures because my mom took pictures. She's like, "This is too cool." I'm like half in the ground in the middle of a trail. But yeah, so that one was cool. There was a lot of night shoots for that one. So that was the first time I started doing night shoots and understanding what that was, like having to stay up all night. But you get to set at 6 p.m., do your makeup and get all ready, and then wait for the sun to go down, and then start shooting for a full 12 hours or whatever. So I learned how to pace myself, and I really got close to the craft table because the craft table keeps you awake. You just like pop another Oreo, pop another Smarties, just like eating. I was like, I think I was 10 or 11 maybe, and my mom was like, "What are you doing? Stop eating all that stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm tired," and I'm just like,
I need sugar to keep me awake.
Yeah, I need to keep going. So that was really cool. And then the other one, I was a bit older by then because I was probably like 12 or 13 because I was in high school when I did that one. So like maybe grade 8, I think. So, and that one we shot in Montreal, and we shot it in because I was one of the sewer people. So they had done me all pale. And actually, the girl who played my sister, I forget her name. But she was in like Avengers, and she was in. She played opposite Chris Evans in Captain America. She's I forget her name.
Did she play the role of Peggy Carter, or did she play?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. She's blonde.
Black Widow?
Natalie Van Camp? Van Camp, I think, is her name.
Natalie Dormer? Is that it?
I'm pretty sure it's Van.
We all gotta research this.
Yeah,
I'll say.
No, that one looks
really good. Google her.
Captain America.
Yeah, Emily Van Camp, I think, is her name.
Emily Van Camp.
Yeah, Emily Van Camp.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, so she played my sister, and she was.
Oh, okay.
I could tell she was she was incredible then, because we were supposed to be this really weird sewer family that had been living in the sewers for decades, or like removed from society, and she was improvising a bunch of stuff on set, like. She was like all like weird, and I was like in love with Alicia's character, and I was like trying to sit closer to her, and she's like, "Okay, like back off," and Emily Van Camp, yeah. So she just improvised this thing with tea, and she had like the sugar cubes, and in the scene she's just sitting there, and she's all like eccentric, and she's putting like 18 sugar cubes while we're talking, and the director's like, "Yo, do that again. That is hilarious. Like, you look crazy." And she's just like, and then she's sipping it and tweaking out, and like,
that's hilarious.
Oh, geez.
That's so cool. I didn't know that she was. I looked it up. She was Sharon Carter in the Captain America movies. That's really, really cool. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And we shot in an actual like abandoned tunnel in Montreal to make it look like a sewer, because it kind of was. And that, again, was also a night shoot, and with Alicia Cuthbert there. And I still act with some of the other, the father and the mother from that scene, too. They're still Montreal actors, and they're still in the scene. And yeah, it was cool. It was a really cool experience.
That's really cool.
Like you said, you just don't know who you're working with back then, and then what happens later. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and I did a IMAX 3D one, Ultimate G's it was called, and he's a celebrity. Oh, I feel really dumb that I don't know his name, but it's just not coming off the top of my head. But he was Ultimate G's. Okay, wait. Yeah, he was a kid, and I was bullying him. Michael Cera was in this
Michael Cera?
Yeah, and I was like bullying him. I like pushed him to the ground. I'm like, get out of here, kid. And he's got his remote control car. And I remember like just being in the warm up van with him, like just chatting. And then like years later, I'm like, oh, this kid is like super famous. Like,
oh my god,
like Superbad is like one of my favorite movies like ever. I think Eminem said it's his favorite movie.
Yeah,
like,
oh my gosh, that is awesome.
That's crazy, man. Michael Cera. Oh, I just think, okay, I'm just going to say it because I just think of him in the movie This Is the End. And like, I swear to God, like his role in that is like the greatest part in that whole movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, but his character is just ridiculous. Like, yeah,
they had a golden era, those guys, like Jay Baruchel and them, when they had like, there was like Pineapple Express and then Superbad. Tropic Thunder, like all those movies back to back, they were so good.
Tropic Thunder is so fun.
I feel like they just can't make those
Tropic
movies.
Thunder's another level.
Yeah,
I freaking love that movie.
You can't make those movies today, though. Like that's the thing. Like I just feel like we're not allowed those anymore. They were testament to their time. Like, do you think they'll ever do? Well, they're doing a new scary movie there, right?
Oh, they're doing another one?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I think
Didn't they say they're going to be doing a scary movie 6? Pretty sure.
I think I heard something about that. Yeah, I mean that's.
And I'm like, can they make that now? Like that's like saying, oh, hey, we're going to make Married with Children again.
Oh my gosh, Scary Movie was really bad though. Scary Movie, you had a lot. Like now, I'm getting flashbacks to all the scenes. I'm like, yeah, you can't. You can't do.
No, those movies were. God, I can't believe those movies got released in the theaters.
Oh, but like back then, it was different though. Like like the times were different, so people found that stuff funny. But now it's just
amazing how things have changed in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Changing times.
I can think of 3 scenes off the top of my head that are not allowed to be done right now, like from that movie. Like I'm just like, no. Like not even talk about it on this podcast. Like
no, definitely not.
We can just.
I feel like the people listening to us right now could probably imagine what those scenes are, though. If they're familiar with the Scary Movie, they probably know which ones we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I can imagine, again, we always sort of consider Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark to be like sort of those like companion pieces to each other. I can imagine probably the environments on both shows were pretty similar.
Yeah, and they were both Canadian. That's what's crazy. They were both Canadian shows shot in Canada. I think the only difference was Are You Afraid of the Dark was a Canadian show full through and through, like 100%. And then it became like they sold it to the American networks and it became popular. But I think Goosebumps from the beginning was both. Like it was an American production company and it was always going to be planned to be shown in the States and in Canada. But they just chose to shoot it in Toronto for whatever reason. So, that's another thing I feel super lucky because I didn't have my O1 visa. I didn't have my green card. I couldn't go and shoot a lot of the things that we're shooting in the States. Mm-hmm. So the fact that those 2 massive shows were done here, and I was allowed to be in them and to audition for them, and it did a lot for a lot of Canadian actors. So super grateful for that fact. And same with Lassie. Lassie was the same. It was a Canadian show, but it was a joint production. There was a little bit of American. So we went on to Animal Planet, which was an American network, and then it kind of made its way through other channels as well. But yeah, it's nice when you can shoot in both countries. So
definitely, yeah. Still so awesome just to imagine. Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps. Again, you never know what's going to become the big thing, but those shows got super big, and they're both of them are getting reboots now. Are You Afraid of the Dark got a reboot a few years ago. And now Goosebumps getting rebooted, so people are coming back to the old stuff too, alongside the new stuff. So it's just.
And Are You Afraid of the Dark? Actually, so just another thing on that note was that because you said they had 5 seasons and they took a break, then they did the 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the 7 or like the last whatever, but it was such a thing for me because Goosebumps, I was a fan of the books and then I got to be in the show. But this I was also like I watched every Are You Afraid of the Dark when I was a kid at my aunt's house. It was like a religion. It was like I would go over. My mom had a dance school, so she would drop me off at my aunt's around the corner from the dance school. She would go work, run the classes, and I would stay at my aunt's and watch Are You Afraid of the Dark, and like every night for a couple of years. And then when it stopped and then I got to be in it, that was like a huge, like, no, that's a show that I watched. Like, I watched it. I know the whole thing. I know the formula. So it was a big, big deal for me to be able to be in it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, just to be a fan of something and then get to be a part of it.
Some of those episodes, though, of Are You Afraid of the Dark were truly, like, terrifying. Like, there was some, like, the
People
one that
think
actually
it's scarier than Goosebumps.
wasn't, like, I mean, Dead Man's Flow, Ghastly Grin, like, they were creepy, but there was one in particular that really scared me, and it was the vampire one, the Midnight Shift or something, the Night Shift, I think. And it was the one with, like, the green
hospital
vampire guy. That was like, that gave me nightmares because every time he came into the shot, he would like go up to the camera like real close, and it was just like, and I remember like just that gave me the worst nightmares. I remember I was watching it with my cousins in New Zealand, and anytime he came on and like would go up to the camera, we all like jumped behind the couch. We were like absolutely terrified of that. So that show was like Goosebumps was scary like at times, but I think that show was just a whole new level of like.
It felt like it shouldn't be that scary for kids when I was watching it. Like, it shouldn't be this scary. Why is it? And the content wasn't like gory or anything, but you're right. It was the shots. It was the lighting. It was so dark, and like they had some kind of magic there.
Well, that's why I feel like these franchises get so popular, is because kids like this horror stuff. Like, I feel like, you know, there are many parents who are like, you know, you shouldn't watch that. It's too scary. You know, you're going to have nightmares. Me personally, like, I loved these shows. Like, even if they scared me, I just could not take my eyes off them. And that's just, there's just something about that makes them so popular, is because kids are like, I really like this. I'm really interested in this. And it could be, you know, we always talk about gateway horror. It's a gateway into wanting to see more of the horror genre and horror movies, stories, literature, folklore, like all those sorts of things. You know,
it got me into like Critters was my first one that I really got into, like an actual horror. Critters 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even know if they made a 5, but I saw the first 4, and then eventually, you know, like the Freddy's and the Screams and like that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But Critters had a bit of that 90s magic because it was terrifying, but it was also tacky and like
goofy.
They shouldn't be scary, but they're terrifying. Like, what are these things, you know? Yeah,
exactly. But it still has like that little bit of like comedic edge, because it's like these little critters. I said the thing. You know, like it's kind of like the Gremlins too, because Gremlins is. You know, has its scary moments, but it's also these little guys running around and, you know, singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall, all drunk in the bar, like stuff like that.
Yeah, watching Snow White.
Like that. I love the smart one. The smart one that just shoots the dumb one. Do you remember that one? He's giving an interview and he's like, respected.
The first Gremlins actually scared me. The first one actually creeped me out as a kid.
I was going to say the first one was definitely scarier.
In the house when she's like hunting them, literally, the mom, I was like, this is truly.
Then you have a scene where you like shove one of them in the microwave and just like.
I don't know. She killed so many of them though. Like, I gave her so much.
That was like,
mom, like just kill them all.
Well, see, the second one was I think I like the second one more, but I think I like it more because I like the mutated Gremlins, like the spider one and. The bat and
the gargoyle. They had a gargoyle too, right? With the wings.
So it was a bat, but he ended up getting covered in cement and actually like became a gargoyle.
That's what it was. Yeah,
so cool. I love that so much.
Yeah, he like sits up on the thing
I thought
too.
That was
like,
so cool.
I always sound like the spider.
Yeah, the spider one was real. I think that was probably the scariest thing about number 2. That or maybe the female gremlin. I can't remember her name right now. I think it's like Greta or something.
With the lipstick.
It's terrifying.
Oh, dude. I mean, I have to like spiders living here, so you know, I have to be a fan of them. You
don't have to be.
I like spiders. Like, I've grown to love them. Like, you know, but hey,
you live with like
her movie.
You live with literal monsters in Australia, right? There's like literal monsters everywhere.
There was a photo that just went viral of a dingo eating a shark on a beach while 2 snakes were wrestling each other in the same
I saw
shot.
that. The dingo's eating the shark? Like,
Yeah, and two snakes are like doing this,
and
I'm like,
look it up soon.
that's what happens here.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
It's funny because like Bjorn will send us videos of not like his personal videos, but just videos of Australian people, like a day in the life in Australia, and one of it's like, you know, I don't know what was the one you sent me. It was like a kangaroo going down the street, or something. But then
it was a kangaroo going down the street. There was one of a kangaroo like holding a dog, like with its big strong.
Oh, is this the one where the guy?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that too. Yeah, that dude just came over and punched him, and that kangaroo just stood there staring. I was like, bro,
because it's almost like it didn't expect it. But, like, because it had its arms around the dog, he could punch it. Like it was almost like, wait, if I'm going to hit it, I can do it now, like quickly while he's holding my dog, and then bang, and then it just let go. So it's almost like he saw
it. He caught back and like clocked it right. It was a good punch.
Yeah,
it was a good punch. But that kangaroo just stood there and kind of like puffed chest. He's like, "What? What was that, bro? You even work out?"
That thing was hit me before. What just happened here?
I think that was the first time that kangaroo ever got punched. Clearly, because he was a little confused on what was happening.
Oh, I was sending it.
Did you guys see the I know it's off topic, but did you see the grizzly or the black bear that went into the guy's jacuzzi?
I haven't, but I wouldn't be surprised.
He's up north in his cabin, and this bear just gets on his deck, and he's like, "Oh yeah, here comes the bear, just doing his thing." And he gets into the jacuzzi, and he really gets in it, like gets himself nice and comfortable, and he's like, "What am I gonna do? Like, I can't do anything." And he's just getting warm.
Just imagine he the bear looks over at the guy. He's just like, "Howdy, neighbor. Beautiful day."
Sometimes you do see
that's
like
not the first time that bear has done that.
Probably not.
That's crazy. But sometimes you do see like an animal, like a bear or a dog, and you go, "There's a human like in there. Like that's a
reincarnated human or something."
You know, like
I wonder if you turn on the jets. If you turn on the jets, if it'll get out, or if it'll just sit there and thank you for it.
Yeah, just be like, "Oh, thanks, man."
Right?
Yeah, like the personalities, like everything's got a personality. Like bears, it doesn't matter what it is, you know. Like you think, you know, like in Australia, like people hate spiders. Obviously, we have some of the worst. So, you know, like, but there's a guy that goes around and he basically like free handles the most deadliest spiders. Like even one he handled to the point that if it bit him, there's no anti-venom for it. So he's like, if this bites me, I'll just die, because he's like, there is no anti-venom made for this particular spider. So he's holding like a Sydney funnel web. There is anti-venom, but because he's just being really calm, the spider's just like walking on him like a surface. So it's almost like, he's like, this thing could bite me at any moment, and like, within 5 minutes, I'll be on the ground having a seizure. Like, you know, so it's just he was just trying to prove that like they're not as scary like as you make out. Like they're just trying to find their way in the world like anything, but because like he's just gently holding them or free handling, like they're actually just. I mean, yeah, the average person, Nick, I know you wouldn't, but like, you know, like.
No thanks.
I actually have one last question. Some pretty
deadly ones, you know, not ones that would.
Yeah, I have one last question that actually is aquatic related, since it was an aquatic episode. Is there anything in the water that personally scares you?
Yes. So I've swam with dolphins like 3 times, and I love dolphins. Like, they're beautiful. I swam once they were following our boat in Florida, and I just jumped out. We just jumped out with him and played with a wild dolphin, and he just circled us and tickled our feet and came around, and we fed it a little bit, and it took off, and it was like a magical, beautiful. And then a couple other times I went to like a place where the dolphins are trained, but it's still outdoors, so they're like in a lagoon. They come in, they do tricks for food, and then they go back out. But so the only time I've been like really afraid in the water was I was in Hawaii, and I was surfing, and I was having the time of my life. I was like the first time surfing, but you have to wait in line, like to and then when you're the last one, then you get the wave, and then everybody waits and you get the wave, But when I was the last one, it started going through my head like, holy shit! If there's a shark right now, it's me. I'm the last one. I'm the closest. I'm the furthest out. They're gonna take me, and they like surfers because surfers look like wounded. And I just started like spiraling, and I'm like, go on, get on the wave. So I got on the wave because I was afraid of a shark, kind of like the way you run up the stairs in the basement when like the lights are off and then you just psych yourself out. It was like that kind of feeling. Like, I gotta go right now.
Go.
Like
no time to wait.
Yeah,
Hawaii especially, there's a lot of shows.
Yeah, you're in the water. That's not your element. That's not where you live, or like they know what that is. You know, I don't know. And there was another time in Hawaii where I ran into the water, and it was Oahu, so it was very touristy. There was like thousands of people on the beach, and I just ran in, and I was like, "Why is nobody swimming? It's beautiful today." And I just ran in, jumped in, did a couple of breaststrokes, turned around, and everyone's just looking at me, and they're like, "Get out of the water!" And so I'm like, "What the?" And then I see all these red flags on the beach, and I get out, and they're like, "There's a jellyfish infestation. There's like thousands of jellyfish in the water right now." Oh my! And then I saw it on the news that night, and I didn't get stung. Like maybe I happened to hit the spot that they weren't there, but there was hordes of jellyfish. So I got lucky. I got super, super lucky.
That's super.
Yeah.
And I've been stung. Have you guys been stung by a jellyfish?
No, but I have a sister who has, and it was terrible.
It just gets worse. It's like a wasp. It hurts, and then it hurts less. This just gets worse. It's like as
It gets
the time
worse
goes
before it
by,
gets
it gets
better.
worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
terrible. Like, we got box jellyfish here, and like they're pretty bad. And even when they're on the beach, they can still sting you. Like
You just touch them, you step on them or whatever, and they'll.
Yeah. They'll still sting you. So it's like like even if you see them on the beach, you're like, don't touch it. Just walk away from it. They'll still sting you. Like, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Oh, the ocean's scary. I constantly hear the question of like, what are you scared of more, like space or the ocean? And I'm like, look, space is scary, but not only is the ocean just as mysterious, but like that's on our planet, and like you don't know what's lurking under the surface. It seems like they're always finding new fish and new sea creatures.
Well, and you see how don't they find sperm whales where inside they have beaks of squids that would be like 200 feet long?
I think so.
Like, don't they? Because they don't know, but the sperm whales go down and they battle these massive squids, and they come back up, but you can't. And they're like enormous, but you've never seen them, but they exist. Like because the beak of the squid that they find would be equivalent to. Yeah, there's so much stuff we don't know in the ocean.
The ocean's terrifying. Like, my biggest fear is the SS Indianapolis, like the story he tells in Jaws. Like, imagine being on a boat and then you're in the water and you're in the middle of wherever and the signal didn't go out, so they don't know where you are. That's my biggest fear, is actually being in the middle of the ocean, because you don't know what's lurking. You know, like, because you're above the water bobbing, right? I mean, I'd feel more safe if I had like a forever lasting like air thing and I was under the water, so I can at least see what's going on. But yeah, being above the water, you're like, this is horrifying. I hate this.
At any moment, you could just have your legs taken out. Like, that's it, gone. Did you see, what was the story that they did a movie about a few years ago? Well, years ago, but it was was it that the one you were talking about, where it was like 700 soldiers that.
Yeah. And they ended up in the water. Yeah.
Like what,
100 in the Indianapolis, and like only like out of like the 700. Yeah, like there was only a portion of them that survived. Most of them got eaten by sharks. They drank too much salt water, so they went delirious. So yeah, some of them died from other causes, but yeah, there was a lot of.
And they started noticing that when they would open their rations, the sharks would just come. So they had to stop opening. They had like cans of ham and whatever. But every time they would open them, the sharks would come and eat a couple of people. So they're like, we can't even eat our food that we have. Yeah. Like, that's terrifying.
The terrifying thing was, apparently, like, in the night, they would all huddle together and hold on to each other. But then when they would fall asleep, someone would always sort of drift off, they said. Like, and the person that drifted off was the one that the sharks went for. So that's terrifying. Like, that deep trouble. Like, just had to say it. But yeah, that is truly terrifying to me. Middle of the ocean, I can't think of anything worse. Like, you know, that to me is
night. Imagine at night, like
nighttime.
Oh yeah, no
moon.
It's like, bad during the day, because I always see these diver videos of like them underwater and they're looking around, and you can't really make out so far, even during the daylight, you know, because it's dense, like with the salt water and everything else. So there's only so much ahead you can see. But when something starts coming out of that darkness, oh geez, that was there the whole time. It's like, oh hell no. No.
Jaws, man.
All this massive ocean, and you're right here. No, I'm good.
No thanks.
Jaws is still as terrifying as ever, man. That movie, like, is still.
And the thing is, it's not even like sharks. I would be super afraid of at that point. You can technically get around them to an extent, I guess, because they're sensitive on their nose. But I guess if one grabs you, I guess you can punch it in the face too, kind of like that kangaroo. Just.
But the bite could make you bleed out. So that's the scary part. Like, how deep is the bite? You'll bleed out.
The killer whales, Free Willy. That's the most scary thing in the ocean, man.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to watch anything that's terrifying, watch the orcas, man. They're too smart, and they're too organized, and it's scary, scary stuff.
Also, the squids, when they get big enough where they can wrap you. Have you ever seen some of those divers where they let them wrap their arm, but then they just pull them down, and they just go down, and like you can't do anything about that. They just, and it's not like a big cat or a gorilla. You know what it's like. It's got two arms, and this thing is just like wrapping itself around you like a snake, I guess, and it's just pulling you down, and you're done. Like, you have to. It's terrifying. That's scary too.
It's so scary. It's like that video that came out with the guy that was diving, and he dipped his head like that, but the great white was coming, and it opened its mouth to grab him, like his head, but he kind of like tilted his head down, and it just sort of missed him. You seen that video? That was terrifying.
No. I've seen shark flippers where they just like flip the shark over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
under it, and and the shark just kind of gets disoriented.
There's the guy in the cage in Mexico, and the shark just swam straight into it.
Oh, in the cage! I saw that one.
In the cage, and then came out.
What? That was crazy. And that dude, he's dead. I thought he was dead.
Me too.
I seriously thought, he's dead. That shark ate him while he was in there before he jumped out.
Yeah. It's because there was blood.
That dude came right
there was
up
blood,
after.
but it wasn't from him. It was from the shark. The shark injured itself, and the blood was coming out of the shark. So when you saw that blood when it went in, you initially thought that he got him.
Oh yeah, no, I thought he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Terrifying. So terrifying.
Scary. Scary.
Trouble indeed.
I can watch videos of like animal attacks or almost attacks or just animals behaving or hunting forever. I could watch that forever. Like, there's one I always go back to. It's so funny. It says little girl at the zoo, and there's a silverback gorilla, like a giant silverback, and she just yawns and she goes like this, like just like a little kid would do, right? Mm-hmm. But the freaking silverback sees it, and like, that's a let's fight, right? And he jumps 14 feet in the air, clears it, and kicks the glass, and the glass cracks, and the parents are like, ah! And everyone's screaming, and it's like, just because she just did one of these, like, you know? And that's like, let's battle, let's fight, right? To the gorilla.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow. No, I'm going to have to look that one up, because I haven't seen that one. I especially want to see this, like, ninja kick that the gorilla does to the glass.
He does. He like, boom, we jump in the air and kicks the.
Gorilla. I want to see you bullying Michael Cera.
I really didn't watch Jackie Chan movies, man. Those zookeepers need to quit doing that shit.
Ocean definitely is a scary place, and who knows? Maybe there will be mutant fish people that surface someday. You never know. They'll come out someday.
We don't know.
Well, that is going to do it for tonight's episode of the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. I want to give super special thanks to Todd Fennell for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast. Honestly, thank you.
Absolutely. Very, very pleasure to have you on here and talk some Goosebumps and, movies in general. It's always an absolute blast. So thank you. And you're more than welcome to join us if we ever the time may come.
Oh, I'd love to try to get that, like, Laura and I on here. That would be awesome. I'll try to message her and see.
We're going to work on that. We'll make it happen.
Cool.
We will.
But yeah, thank you so much again. And as always, you can follow Bjorn and Nick at Goosebumps, Aussie Fan, and Sean, respectively, and their social medias and their YouTubes. If you like today's episode, make sure you like and comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on our audio platforms and social medias. All those links are in the description below, so check them out. We'll have another episode for you next week. But until then, this has been the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. And from all of us here, we want to wish you, as always, to take care, stay safe, and have a very scary day.
Dun, 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 dun.
Boom.